What's going on, guys, and welcome back to a brand new nature documentary about Baggy, the anorexic elephant. Today we're going to be talking about creating actions to we're going to start, migrating to our budget snob application, and we're going to be creating actions for our expenses and filters. So we already have folders for actions, we already have folders for reducers, and we already have a folder for store. And I am going to be using all of these folders, so if you do not know what the actions or the reducers or the store does, go back and check my videos. This is just to be organized a bit, so I'm just going to start coding. So in app.js, we're going to get rid of this because we're not even using any of this anymore. Okay, but we are going to be still dispatching some actions. So store.dispatch. Okay, and here we're gonna add in some actions. Okay, the first one is we're gonna take it easy. We're gonna do add expense. Obviously, we don't have that, but I want to add an expense, and you do got to remember that an expense considers an ID, description, note, amount, and created at. So right now, I'm just going to give a description and an amount. I don't really care about the note and the created at. We'll worry about that later on. The ID is supposed to be generated randomly. So yeah, let's get to it. So right now, obviously, what we need to pass in add expense is an object with description being truck rental, and the amount is going to be I don't know, $100. Okay, we do need to call in an add expense, and we're going to create a new folder in our actions because add expense is an action. So we're going to call a new folder or file, in actions called expenses action or expense actions .js. Okay, so in here we do not in here. Let's actually get out of this. Let me actually copy this or cut this because we're gonna actually need it a little. We're gonna actually need to know what's going on, so I'm just pasting in here for now. So I'm budget storm, control save this, app.js, and here we do need to import add expense. So I'm just going to get this since we're not using counter actions. So add expense, and we're gonna get it from expense actions. Control save that. Now we don't have to worry about that. We know that we're dispatching something and we're already importing it. So let's actually focus in our expense actions folder or file. So in here, we do need to export const add expense, which is going to be an object, a function, and we are getting some data in here. So I don't know if you remember, but in our counter example, I did destructure the object coming in, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing with this. We're going to be destructuring the object coming in. So in here, we're going to have an object come in, and I'm going to destructure that. If there is no object coming in, I'm just going to set it to an empty object. So in here, this is actually commented in a new line. We're going to destructure description. We're going to destructure note, amount, and created at. These are the four things we are expecting. Let's say that we're not passing a note or created at because we're not. We're going to have to set defaults for these. So for description, I'm going to set a default string, empty string, note as well. And the amount, I'm going to set that to 0 if nothing's being passed in. And same thing for created at. Just like that. Okay. So over here, we are returning. We're going to return an object. Obviously, type needs to be one of them. And we're going to just say add expense. And then we're going to be returning an expense object. So we're going to return expense, which is going to be an object. And like I said, the ID is actually generated by us, not by the user. So I'm going to be using a npm module called UUID. I think I already installed it. Let me see. I have not installed it. Okay, so let's install it. Terminal, new terminal, yarn add UUID. And we do need to import it up here, so import UUID from UUID, and down here we're going to be calling it. So first up is our ID, and we're going to be calling UUID to get that random string. And then next is just description, and then same thing, note, and then amount, and then created at. Control save this. Nothing's going to happen obviously because we still haven't let me inspect this so that way you can see. We still haven't, where's our object? Right here. Expenses. We don't have nothing because we still haven't even put this in our reducers yet. Remember, actions just describe what's supposed to happen. Reducers are the ones that actually do manipulate the data. So right here we do need to add a case. So case add expense, and we do need to return an array because our expenses is an array. But the thing is, since we don't know we have expenses already in here, we do need to get the previous state from it. So what I'm going to do is get the spread operator, which gives us state, which gives us what was inside state previously, and then we're going to add in the new expense, and that's being called from action. So action dot expense. Action dot expense, because remember, action is what being it takes in all the object that's being sent, and we're sending this object right here that has type and expense. Okay, so that's why I'm saying action dot expense, because we want that object in here. Now, as you can see right here, expenses, we have an array with one thing, truck rental, and the amount of $100. Now we're going to tackle removing an expense. So back inside of app.js, I'm going to add one more of this right here. One more add expense, and I'm going to just call it I love coffee. Coffee, and the amount is actually $16. And I'm actually going to add a note on this one. Note, this is per bag. Okay, if I control save this, we should see two of them in here. Not here, right here. See that? Two. Expenses, we should have rental truck rental, and then down here, coffee. This is per bag, 16. Awesome. Now we do need to remove it. We need to remove an expense, and the way we're gonna do that is actually by using the ID we just created. This is unique, so it's not gonna be. You're not gonna have the same ID twice. This is unique, so we're gonna be using the ID. Now you might be wondering, hey, how do we actually grab the ID if we can't even dispatch it? If we're dispatching an ID and we don't have that stored anywhere, like we can't grab it, right? Well, yeah, you're technically right. We cannot grab it right now, but we could actually store these two things inside of a variable. So let me just do that. Const expense 1 is going to equal this. Copy that. Paste. Expense 2 is going to equal the second one. Now, what this does is that, you know, store dispatch is actually the one that actually gives you the action it gives you the action, obviously, because when we call this in our actions, when we call this, it goes to our store, and we could have those things from our action. Okay, so this store.dispatch gives you the action, and you could have all of that, all of the data that you need inside that action. Now that we sorted in example 1, actually we could look, check it out. We could actually, I'm gonna just log out right here, ex1, and I'm gonna give ex1, so that way you can see what's going on. Right here, ex1, you see that? Type, and we have our expense object right here that has the truck rental and our ID. Now, you know, we could actually grab it. So in here, let me see, in here, we're gonna actually do store.dispatch. I'm gonna call mine remove expense. And we're gonna be targeting it by the ID. Now for right now, I'm going to say ID, and we're gonna grab the ID of, I love my coffee, so I'm gonna just get rid of expense 1. So we're gonna target ex1 dot expense dot ID. Expense is coming from this object, remember guys. So ex1 dot expense dot ID. Okay. And then we do need to add our remove expense or import it right here. Control save. We're gonna get an error because inside of our actions we don't have that. So right here, export const remove expense. And we are getting an object back, so I'm gonna just destructure that object with the ID. I'm not gonna set a default because to remove an expense we do need an ID, so you don't need a default empty object or anything like that. Okay, so we're gonna return our action, which is type is going to be equal to remove expense. And then we're also going to be passing in our ID. Control save this. And our expense reducer, we do need to add a case for this. So case remove expense. And what we're going to return is, so to return, we need to grab the state, which is an array, and we need to loop through it to find the actual ID and then remove that ID. Now, there's many ways to do that, but I'm just going to use the filter method, okay, from the array. So I'm just going to grab state.filter, and it is going to take in a function, and we are going to pass in the ID. Now, why am I destructuring right here, you might be asking? It's because, remember guys, this array contains objects, just pure objects. As you can see, it just contains objects, okay? It's an object. So you're gonna get an object in here, but I'm just destructuring that object because the only thing we need from that object is the ID. And then we're gonna return ID does not equal action.id. Control save. Now we should only see one array right here, and that one array should be our coffee. Yes. So if you don't know what filter does, look it up. It's pretty simple to understand. It's just going to filter what you don't want. That's it. And we don't want this. We don't want the ID that we just passed in. Okay, that is it. So we got remove expense. So now let's tackle editing an expense. Now this is going to be a bit more difficult. The reason why is because we're actually editing a single object, and we're not editing the array no more. We're editing the object inside that array. Okay, so let's go in here in app.js and actually call something in here. Store.dispatch. and we're going to call it, I don't know, edit expense. And what do we need with the edit expense? Well, we need two things, okay? We need the ID of the expense we want to edit, and also an object of all the things that we want to edit. So we could edit the description, we could edit the note, the amount, create an ad, anything we want, okay? So first of all, let me just grab the thing that we want to edit. And since our only thing that we have in here is example 2, that's what we're going to grab, because that's the only thing inside the array right now. So we're going to grab ex2 dot expense dot ID. And the second argument we're going to be adding in here is an object. Now this object obviously is going, not obviously, but sorry guys. This object is going to take in all the things that we want to edit. So I only want to edit the, let's say the amount. It's not $16 anymore. It actually bumped down to $14. So what I want to edit is the amount, and it's actually $14 now, okay? And I'm going to grab this, copy, paste. And the reason why I'm doing it store dispatch first is so that way you can see what exactly we're doing. So that way when we go to actions, you know, like, oh, okay, now I understand. He's only passing these kind of things and so forth, you know. So control save this. I'm actually going to grab it one more time, copy. We do need a const export const and we are passing two things. We're passing an ID and we're also passing updates. Now updates is an object, so you already know that. And we're going to be returning, you already know, an object with type being, I just sneezed, edit uppercase edit expense. And then we're going to be also returning our ID and all the updates that we want. Now remember, updates is still an object, so control save. All right, now for our expense reducer. This is where it's going to be a little bit complicated. Up until then, this is not complicated. We come from app, we go to expense actions, and then we gotta give it the logic to actually manipulate the data inside of state, right? So let's create a case for now. Case edit expense, and we're gonna return something. Okay, now again, we do need to return, or we do need to loop through this array, okay? But we're not going to be using filter, obviously, because we want to edit something inside that array, a specific object, okay? So what I'm going to be using is the method map. You can use whatever you want, but that's what I'm going to be using. So I'm going to do state dot map, and it's going to take in a function. And right here, we're going to get an expense back, right? An object. This is still an object. We're going to get an expense, an object back. So what I'm going to say right here is if expense, not export, expense dot ID equals action dot ID, then we want to manipulate that object or that expense. Else, if we don't find such an ID or such an object, we're going to just return the state how it is currently. Okay? Or not the state, sorry. We're going to return the expense how it is currently. Control save, yeah, we're going to get error because let's just get this right now. Why do I have to? Okay. So right here, I don't know if you knew this, but you could actually use the spread operator with objects as well. Same thing with the array. You already knew about the array, but I don't know if you knew we could do it with objects as well. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to use the spread operator with objects, okay? So I'm going to return an object right back with the previous expense, this right here, the expense, and also the actions dot update, the object that we just sent in, action dot updates. So what does this does? What does this do? Well, first of all, let's look at our objects in here. We got undefined. Okay, let's control save this so that way we can figure it out. There we go. Okay, we have this object with the ID, description, note, amount, and create app. This is our old state right here. Our old state. This equals this old state. Right now, we're just passing in our actions.updates, which is amount, this object right here, amount 14. So you got this object up here, which is this, and we got another object down here. This is going to combine those two, and let's say that obviously we're returning an amount. Both of these have an amount. It's going to be updated by the newer amount, which is $14. And we're going to get this one array down here, or this one object down here with the updated amount. It's pretty cool, huh? We're just combining these two. We're using the spread operator. If you don't know what a spread operator is, look at it or look it up. It's pretty simple. I say everything is pretty simple because it really is. The filter, the map, the spread operator, they're all simple. It's just how to use them. That's when people are like, what? So yeah. And this is what I meant about it's going to be a little bit complicated. That's it. That's it. The spread operator. We're going to do one more and we're going to switch it up. We're not going to do an expense. We're going to do a filter one. Okay. So inside of app.js, we're going to do store.dispatch. I'm going to say set keyword filter. And we're going to just return a string. And we're going to say, what is our coffee? Coffee. I'm going to just say coffee then. Coffee. That's going to be our keyword. We're going to be looking for the keyword coffee. Keyword filter. And we do need to grab it again, but instead of from the expense actions, we're going to create a new file called filter actions, and we're going to be grabbing the set keyword from that file. We haven't created the file yet. We are going to create it right now. Right here in actions, new file, filter actions.js. And here I'm just control save this. Export. I'm actually going to grab the const paste equals. You already know this. This is you should have this muscle memory already. And we are returning a word. So in here I'm gonna say keyword. And we're going to be returning an object. Return, not capitalized. Return an object. Type. We're going to set this equal to set keyword filter. That's a long one. You could shorten it if you want. I'm just just doing it. And we're going to be passing in for actions our keyword. Let me actually like that. Control save. Now we're not messing around with the edit actions or the edit expense reducers. We're going to be messing around with the filter reducer. So in here we do need to create a case. I'm literally going to copy that because that's just case right there. And we're gonna return an object. Now remember guys, filters is an object. It's a plain old object, so we gotta modify this object to take in the new keyword. And we're gonna do the exact same thing as we did with the expense reducers and use the spread operator. So I'm gonna grab the old state, and then I'm going to pass in the new the new thing that we want to update, which is tag keyword, and we're going to set that equal to action dot keyword. Control save now. Now if we actually look down here, let's go to filters. Oh, we got our coffee keyword. So let's go back in here and let's just make sure it's actually working. And I'm going to pass in absolutely nothing. Now we might get a break. Let's see. Filters undefined. We don't want undefined. So what I'm going to do inside of the filter actions is, if there's no keyword, I'm going to set a default of empty string. Now if I do that, okay, we get an empty string back instead of undefined, which is great. Awesome. So that is it for this video, guys. I just wanted to take you, it was for me, I'm gonna say it was pretty fast. I'm pretty sure for you it was pretty fast. Now it was a little bit confusing because we were just jumping around all the places, but if you're following along, you know exactly what actions do, you know exactly what the reducers do, and you know exactly what the store does, and everything is being called in the app.js. So this should make sense to you, but this is a video that you might want to revisit twice or look at it again, so that way you could actually see what's going on. And just know that the only thing that was so complicated in this thing wasn't the actions. It was actually inside the reducers, using all of this state filter or the map or the spread operators. That is what's going to confuse a lot of people, and I hope you actually take time to actually look those things up and get familiarized with those, because we're going to be using those a lot in this application, and you're going to be using that in the real world as well. I'm telling you that right now. So that's it. That's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.